I assume most people have not heard of me. Most people. I am a lifetime research scientist. I worked for 32 years in the pharmaceutical industry and biotech. My most senior positions were at Pfizer. I was vice president and worldwide head of research in allergic and respiratory diseases. Since 2020, I have been speaking out against the fraudulent pandemic and the intentionally dangerous injections. And my experience has been to have been censored and smeared, largely. So if you've not heard of me before, that's the reason, that censorship and smearing is the experience of people who try and tell you true things that the authorities don't want you to hear. I was very concerned about the injections. I could see multiple features in the so-called vaccines that was not necessary, even if I believed the lies about what I was being told about these things. Even if you believed them, it would not be necessary to incorporate certain features about them. And so my bottom line is, I think, and I'm well qualified to make this claim, probably better qualified than any other single person speaking out. They have been designed intentionally to injure, kill, and reduce fertility. I've never claimed it would do it to a lot of people or that it would be quick. In fact, specifically, I remember saying at the time, I don't think they want to risk injuring and killing too many people early on because people will spot it. What I expected once I started looking around and noticing other things, like there was a talk of electronic money, getting rid of cash. And there was talk of digital ID. I remember Tony Blair trying to do that in the 90s. And frankly, I joined the dots and I could see a world in which you were required to have digital ID, that cash was removed, so you had to spend only using digital money. And I thought, you know what? If I was the evil person, I would say that your digital ID will not be valid unless you're up to date with your injections. And I came across a document from the EU. It's called EU VABECO, V-A-B-E-C-O. And it's a scheme that started in 2018. Bottom line is that the EU Commission anticipates a future in which every EU citizen has a digital ID whose validity is governed by whether or not they've been injected with the latest mRNA-based, quote, vaccine. So they anticipate regular injection for the rest of your life. That's, you know, and the idea is it'll improve health and safety as you travel around, which is a lie. It's a lie. You being vaccinated doesn't protect anybody. In fact, I would recommend no one has any vaccines at all, from what I've discovered in the last year or so. But, you know, honestly, when have governments ever given a flying one about your health and safety? You must know that a claim that you must do something for your health and safety is what is called, it's an excuse, it's an ostensible reason. These people who are trying to take our lives away from us always use two things. It's always two things. They'll tell you about something using the excuse, the ostensible reason. So in this case, it'll be you have to be jabbed to protect you from marauding viruses. The real reason is I'm afraid they want to make you ill and kill you. That is the truth. It's absolutely clear. There's really only one senior institution. It's a group of people who you can see as supranational groups, from the UN, WHO, the International Panel on Climate Change, the World Economic Forum, Bilderberg's. You should see them as the same. They're different manifestations. Trilateral Commission. Keir Starmer's a member of the Trilateral Commission, the only elected British politician who's a member of this globalist group, at least that particular one. They're all founded by the same group of people. They've been running for decades to much longer than a century. And I believe they believe their destiny is to control all us little people, all us. They see us as useless eaters. Useless eaters. Where have you heard that phrase before? What happens to useless eaters, do you think? I think they believe it's their destiny, maybe their obligation, to take control of everyone, everywhere, forever, using digital means. So digital ID, digital money, geolocation, and an obligation to be injected, something like that. You don't need much more than that. The control mechanism is so frighteningly simple. I warn people, and I'm not going to sign up for digital ID. I'm probably going to regret that statement, but you don't need a new global single format editable digital biometric ID. But that's what digital ID means. Single global editable biometric digital ID. I'm warning you. I'm trying to help. It's the last really important decision you will get to make. If you sign up for it, the people who are taking over do not require your consent, your collaboration, you to do anything after that. And this is why. I'm going to tell you why. Even I, as someone who's not involved in finance, I'm clever enough to see that the debts of all major countries has been deliberately piled on and escalated to the point where it's obvious to all of us that the debts can never be repaid. We're struggling even to service the interest on the loans. So at some point, I predict with great confidence that an event like 2008, the global financial crisis, only 1,000 times worse, will occur. And that will mean every country is bankrupt at the same time. All businesses would be bankrupt at the same time. And to find out what will happen to you, if like me, you're sort of comfortable and middle class, early retired and got a bit of saving, you should be really frightened what I'm going to tell you. David Rogers Webb. David Rogers Webb. Here's my matching half in finance. He's a retired hedge fund manager who discovered that the laws pertaining to private property rights have been altered over the last 50 or 60 years surreptitiously in every country on the planet. So when you think you own something, I invite you to look in. If you've got an investment account, you will find now, you won't find any statements to do with ownership. You'll only find the phrase beneficial owner, beneficial ownership. It makes no difference most of the time. You can buy it and sell it. Let's say it's shares, stocks, bonds. You can receive dividends and so on. But the small print says, in the event of a large enough default, all the financial intermediaries who owe money to the people they borrowed it from, and then they owe money to the people they borrowed it from, in the event of a large enough default, the senior secured creditors, the people at the top, may seize the assets ever pledged as collateral by the layers below them. That includes your house, your pension, any stocks and shares you have in an account with an intermediary like Hargreaves Lansdown, AJ Bell and the like, JP Morgan. Basically, legal theft of all of your assets will occur, I think, within hours of a large enough financial crisis that I've just discussed. So even if you didn't think anyone was plotting against you, I think you would agree with me that, in fact, I factored in it when I was doing retirement planning. I assumed there would be at least one other 2008 during my life when I set out my affairs, so that I would probably be able to survive that. But we can't survive this. So yes, I think there will come a time between now and 2030 where legally all your assets will be stolen. I remember there's a lady called Catherine Austin Fitz, who's a finance lady. She says, I believe that possession, where we're talking about objects, not humans, but where it comes to objects, you really only own it if you can sit on it and defend it at the point of a gun. And I know she says it to get a laugh, but there is something to that. If you've left any assets with a third party, maybe you own some gold and it's in the bank. Maybe you do have, a large pension with a financial intermediary. Upon a large enough financial crisis that is being engineered, because, as I'll explain in a moment, look how useful this is. At the moment of that big enough financial crisis, all of the institutions will be bankrupt and all of the assets will be moved legally, stolen legally, and they will belong to the senior secured creditors, because those assets have at some point been used in a financial transaction. There's no point in you protesting that they haven't told you they borrowed it and it's not really theirs. This has been tested in a major court in New York, where one financial institution was both the custodian and acting on behalf of senior creditors. So it stole the assets of another of its clients. And it went to court, and I'm afraid it was found that they were legally able to do that. So David Rogers Webb, a free book called The Great Taking, is my gift to you. You should go and read that. So that's part of the takeover. It is a takeover. It's a global coup. And I've explained that if you sign up for digital ID, it'll be the last really important decision you make, because your digital ID will be the only thing that your governments, institutions, and anybody authorized by those holding power will recognize you through. So you won't exist anymore. You'll be replaced by a QR code. You are not a number. You're an address to some resources. And that makes it particularly dangerous, because those resources can be edited. And one of those fields, for sure, will be your vaccination status. And I'm absolutely sure, because I've seen it written down in multiple documents, that your digital ID will only remain valid if you comply with the conditions of validity. So one of them will be, have you had your latest recommended or mandated jabs? And because of the fact that I'm qualified in toxicology and worked for decades with others in what's called rational drug design, when I look at these jabs, the constituents, I am certain, formally certain, that they were designed to hurt you. And so, the digital ID will lose validity unless you roll your sleeve up. You must see that's designed to injure and I believe ultimately kill you. But you won't be able to escape that, because all your money will also be associated with your digital ID. So let's say you've gone to a supermarket, you want to buy a drink and a sandwich. You'll beep them through and it'll say, how do you pay? And it'll say, present your digital ID. And the cash register, as it were, the cashless system, won't proceed until you show it your QR code. And if you're not vaccinated, and if that means your digital ID is not valid, it'll say, sorry, transaction refused. The merchant will not be able to sell you the product. So you can see how difficult this is. Now, a valid digital ID, just like a valid passport, is today required to cross a border. And I have no problem with a passport, of course. But I'd be pretty cross if to buy petrol I had to show my passport, or to buy a bottle of water I had to show my passport. But that is what's coming. You'll have to show your digital ID. If you said hurty words on the internet, you might find that your digital money doesn't work. If you're outside of your 15-minute zone and you're not authorized to be, you will not be able to buy anything. That's what's coming. It's the ultimate tool of slavery, the digital. It's called the digital gulag by other people. I think that's not a bad phrase. And the way to stop that happening is to put your foot down and don't sign up for it. If they tell you, say you're, if it's the government, they might say, we're not going to give you benefits unless you sign up for digital ID. I can't help that. I'm going to tell you, you at this point have to choose. Obviously going to engineer it so that you'll feel you can't refuse. If you sign up for it, your life is going to end. Your free life is going to end. So I would say, like I always did with the jabs before I really knew what was going on, I would say, don't decide anything now. Defer your decision a month, maybe another month. Same with digital ID. Please, when it's first put to you, and especially if they threaten you, we'll have to fire you if you won't sign up for this. This is good for you, is it? Why would they threaten you? Why would they punish you for not doing something that's supposedly good for you? And the answer is, I mentioned earlier, always two reasons: the ostensible reason, the excuse, or the real reason. And the threats come because the real reason is what I've been telling you. It's for bad. So if they tell you they won't pay your benefits if you don't sign up for digital ID, I'm going to ask you to swallow hard and not sign up. You might have to sign up in a month or 3 months. Don't sign up. The more people who don't sign up, the more likely we are to be able to defeat this, because other people will be taking their lead from you. So if you've got children, I think you should be willing to go hungry for a bit. If I have to, I will, in order to stop this happening. So I've made the bold statement, I'm not going to take on a digital ID. And some people have said, you will lose access to your money in your bank accounts. Do you know what? So be it. If I sign up for it, what's going to happen is what I've outlined to you. Money's not going to matter. One, they'll steal it. And secondly, I don't want to survive in a world in which I'm beeping my way into and out of shops and beeping my way to buy some mouldy bread with insect flour, right? I'm not going to live in that world. So I'm just going to stop. And the worse the punishment threatened, brought upon me, the worse the retribution, the more sure you should be that this is a bad thing. So even if they say we're going to fire you, say respectfully, I don't trust this system. I'm going to defer my decision. I'm not going to sign up this month. Let them fire you. I think they'll have to give up. Remember NHS 100K when they said, we're going to jab you all or you'll lose your job. And 100,000 of them campaigned on the street. And the government actually gave in the next week. So there's enough power if we only just take our courage in our hands. And you only need courage when you're threatened. You need some courage now. You need some courage now. I'm not frightened. I don't look frightened because I'm not frightened. Everyone's life comes to an end eventually. I don't want it earlier than necessary. But if I do what I think these evil tyrants want me to do, the end of my free life has been reached. Honestly, I think we can defeat this if enough of us are reasonably brave. You don't need to fight anybody. It would be pointless. They'd love you to get young, strong men if you get fighting on the street. I bet the government would love that. Never been my style. But the way to fight it is literally not to comply. So don't sign up for digital ID. I would say if they tell you there's another scary event and you need to go home and stay in, go out for a long walk. Go and find several friends and go for a long walk. If you believe at this point what you're being told on the mainstream media, I've lost all sympathy for you. So you don't have to do the research I've done, and you don't have to be a conspiraloon at this point to work out that something very bad is happening. So don't let them inject you with anything, is my recommendation. And don't allow yourself to be locked down or forced to wear masks or frightened by anything. It's all lies, all of it. And you've got to take the courage in your hand now and think, do I trust the BBC or this guy, Dr. Mike Eden, who warned you about the toxicity of the expected toxicity of the injections I warned about in writing before they were authorised in December 2020. And every day I wished I was wrong, but I'm not wrong. And having been right about that for 4 years, then I think at least do me the honour of exploring some of these things.